La la la. La 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 la. I think this works. All right, welcome everybody. Let's get started. So you're here for a status contribution roadmap for Drupal AI in 2026. So I've prepared a very nice presentation for you. Took a lot of time assembling this all. I hope that I get the information across in a good way and easy to understand. Before we start, we have to say thank you to all the sponsors, because without the sponsors, this wouldn't be happening. I think a nice set of companies came together to sponsor this event, and a very fine community made this a really, really great event, and I much look forward to the trip tonight. And yeah, thank you all for organizing, and thank you to the sponsors. Let's dive in. So I know many of you, but maybe not all. So I'm Christoph. I'm one of the founders of 1x Internet. We are a European company. We are heavily involved in Drupal. We are a Diamond partner. We are also co-founder of the Drupal AI initiative. And today I speak to you in my role as the product manager of the Drupal AI product. So I'm going to show you what we do and organize this so it's easy to understand and follow. You find me on social media. I have Breidert pretty much everywhere. And yeah, so that was about me. Let's start it off like this. About a year ago, so you probably know that the Drupal AI initiative was founded in Drupal Dev Days Leuven just last year. So it's actually under a year ago, because it was a bit later in the year. And back then, we already had a really strong Drupal AI module and a good ecosystem, a lot of bright minds working on it. But AI in Drupal was still a strategy. And it's not anymore. It's reality, just 1 year later. And I picked this graphic here. It's just, I took it out from the blog post that you see here linked below that just came out just yesterday. So we have a really steep adoption of the AI module. So it's going in very many places, and very many people are contributing. So we are not at all talking about strategy anymore. So we have actually accomplished a great deal. And this is what I want to talk about today. So today, what I want to tell you is where we... Oh, there it is. Where we stand with Drupal AI today, and I want to explain how the ecosystem works. So from a technical perspective, which modules exist, how they're organized. And then I want to take a look at the short-term roadmap. What are we building at the moment? What is coming out for you to use? And I want you, of course, to just collaborate with us, or I want us all to collaborate. So I want to show concrete ways how you can join. And what I'm just not doing, this is not an AI keynote, and it's also not history about the Drupal AI initiative or any of that stuff. It's also not trainings or demos. But it's just I attempt to give you a concise and good snapshot to just get up to speed. I always like to do in the beginning, to think of what do I want you to get out of this session, and what do I want to get out of it. So I think for you, my goal is to that you understand how this ecosystem is organized, how the Drupal AI initiative is organized, how you can learn Drupal AI, because it is very big, it's very powerful, and there's many parts that many of you haven't touched. I certainly haven't touched all of them, and it's really difficult to get into them if nobody's showing you the way. So I want to tell you about that, and I want to show you how you can participate if you want to get involved. And at the end of this presentation, I have timed it in a way that we have some time for questions. What I would actually really like to know from you, so it would be helpful if you just think about this during the presentation. What is the functionality that you need in your projects today, and what should be built next from your perspective? Because this is the information that, for me in my role as product owner, what I need to know, because we just together with, of course, everybody in the initiative, we prioritize a roadmap, and that relies on this information. All right, let's get into it. I've created a graphic how the Drupal AI initiative works. So, as you know, or I just said, so a leadership team was formed in about a year ago that consisting of 5 companies, and this leadership team has appointed a number of product managers. These are people that organize what gets built and prioritize what gets built. Yeah? And that is together with all the participating companies in the initiative. And we have chosen to take a classical development approach, how you use it in product development, that you have an innovation work stream where new stuff is being tested out, is being developed, is being prototyped, is being adopted, or is being dismissed. And once this becomes ready, it comes over into the product development work stream, where stuff is then stabilized, where it's just put into the product and it's documented and it's released in a way that you and everybody else, especially the participants of the initiative, can use it. I myself, I work on the right side. Yeah, so I'm together with Niels from DropSolid. We are just we're facilitating the product development work stream. You see here we have two product owners. So in product development, the product owners are the ones that organize the sprints. So we have two people here. I put the pictures so when you ever meet them in meetings, so you know who they are. So it's Raki on the left side and Ariane on the right side, and they are in charge of just managing the sprints, you know, organizing the backlogs, assigning issues to people, making sure issues get solved, facilitating reviews and plannings and dailies, yeah. And so that's these two people, and then of course technical leads. So maybe important to know. So the POs, they are sponsored by the partners of the Drupal AI initiative. So if organizations become partners, they on the one hand they have to sponsor with money, and then they have to, you know, let their developers participate in sprinting. Yeah, and this money that we use is, for example, to just pay for the product owners in both work streams, and also for Marcus being available as technical lead in the project. Yeah, so we have these functions secured and always available, not dependent on that maybe somebody is not available at times. So Artem is supporting Marcus here as a technical lead also, and yeah, so that's the organizational structure that we work with. And what we also have, I'm now going a little bit more on the inside. I mean, the development happens in dedicated sprints, so we have a regular 2-week sprint cadence, you know, with planning, dailies, and then review in the end. So it works really well. We are getting a lot of traction, and but we also have a dedicated UX team which is sponsored by the partners, and we have a QA team. So it means that in development we have access to QA resources for testing. For example, when a new release is made, it's professionally tested, and when new features being developed that has complexity, there's access to a UX team so that we actually build stuff with the user in mind and in beautiful. Not to mention last or least, so we have really strong marketing. It's also backed by the partners of the initiative. Yeah, so probably you see a lot of blog posts and really good content coming out. A lot of traction is coming towards Drupal AI. That's thanks to marketing. And this whole thing is possible because we have 30 companies, more than 30 that have joined. And if you count the contributions that they make, so partners of the AI initiative are required to contribute staff, yeah. And we have in total like more than 25 full-time equivalents who are working on Drupal AI. So it's really cool, really powerful, really successful. That's what this has led to. You see here also a link to where you can read more about this if you want to dive deeper. Now here, okay, that looks nicer. Okay, here I can't see any lines. So I did draw up the module ecosystem of, is this pointer here? Yes, it is. So I did draw up the module ecosystem. So you all know the Drupal AI core module. Well, little note. So what you see here is not exactly what we have today. It's partially what we have today, but this is what we are working towards in the Drupal AI 2.0 module version that we'll hopefully have like in this year until Rotterdam or earlier. And so what the Drupal AI core module is just a module that provides the foundation for Drupal AI. So what does that mean? So agents, of course, because Drupal AI is agentic, automators for automation things, guardrails for securing things, moderation to just tie into human-in-the-loop functionality, and observability that you actually see what's going on in your systems. So that is what is going to be in AI core. What is coming out from AI core, so maybe you know, like today, for example, CK Editor is a AI core functionality that will go out from core. It will be a separate module, yeah, and live in its own. Of course, we will develop them together, so because they belong together and they work together, yeah, but they live outside of Drupal core. So you see here on the bottom, let's start here. So at the moment, or Drupal AI core abstracts completely from vendors. I guess many of you know this already, but what's maybe new for you as information, that the vendor abstraction is being ported to Symfony AI, yeah, because at the moment we do this ourselves, so this will go away, but this has always been outside of the AI module itself, yeah, and this will stay this way. So the Drupal AI core module is vendor agnostic, so when you build with Drupal AI, you can build with any vendor in the world as long as it has an abstraction and an integration. Yeah? And then we have this ecosystem of modules that we support. So you see here, I wrote here, there you see it, supported by the Drupal AI initiative. You also see here, initiative supported. Yeah? So what does that mean when we say it's supported by the initiative? It means that functionality in these modules are built in the sprints that we just execute at the Drupal initiative. Yeah? So there's certain functionality that is decided together from the partners of the initiative, what we just want to have as AI functionality in Drupal, that we officially support, that we prioritize, and it goes in. And these modules we call official modules. And for example, some of those, I listed them here. So you see here and more. So this is, of course, not the full list. Yeah? But I listed the ones here that you might be familiar with, such as AI Seek Editor, AI Search, AI Chatbot, and many others, yeah, that we just need to just build our AI functionality. And building AI functionality, as you probably also know, can be very difficult, yeah, because if you have never configured automators or an agentic system or guardrails, yeah, you might think it's difficult, it's hard, it's frightening, you don't know where to start, you don't even know where to find information to just get started, and that's where recipes come into play, because what we built from the Drupal AI initiative is recipes to wire this up. Because ideally what you want to do is you want to get some new functionality instead of learning it from scratch. You want to install it, and then you want to look how it's done, and then you just have like a quick access to a working solution, and then you can start from there. And that's also what we officially support, yeah? And that is the main thing that we built on the right side that you saw in the product development work stream, because stuff that's being built, that's coming in, that's new, as productizing it means testing, stabilizing, documenting, and making this available to you as ready-to-use recipes or starting point recipes for you to use. I tried to make this picture complete. So you see in the lower left corner, you see the ecosystem dependencies. Yeah, so I just realized I could have written ECA there too. Yeah, so again, it's not an exclusive list, but there's much functionality that we rely on that is not per se AI functionality. For example, Context Control Center, which was the big thing in DrupalCon Chicago that Dries presented, because you can't do good AI without good context. Yeah, and now we just have fine functionality to organize context and make this available to AI, but in reality it has nothing to do with AI, like it's a tool for managing context. We have field widget actions. If you haven't seen it, these are these awesome buttons that you can place everywhere and executes magical AI things. MCP, we had a nice session about this already today from Georgie. I see you back there on your phone. No, joking. And MCP is per se also not necessarily AI functionality, because it's just an interface to interact with, and tools, because as you know, agents use tools to do things, so we have a system for that as well. So this is how this is organized. Last but not least, here in the lower right corner, of course, there's a huge contrib space. Contrib space does not mean, like from the perspective of the Drupal AI ecosystem, regular contrib modules, anyone can create a module, and modules at some point maybe become functionality of the Drupal AI core module, or maybe they become officially supported because they're important and because the partners say this is what we want to have as ready-to-use functionality. Yeah, so this is no means anything that's less important. It's just to illustrate like how we think about things. All right. I have another graphic that I like to show, because when we, from the perspective of the initiative, think about modules and recipes and official and contrib, then it's nice to think about it like this. So we have the AI core, which is supposed to be very stable, very small, and then you have modules that we support in our sprints and matching recipes to deliver that functionality, and then we have the AI contrib ecosystem around. I said a lot that we have recipes, stuff that we just ship to you to use. If you want to ship something working in Drupal, you need a Drupal instance. Best, you need a fine configured, nice, easy to use Drupal instance. We use Drupal CMS for that. And that actually fits nicely to Drupal's general strategy, because there's a lot of effort going into Drupal CMS, and we're working close together. There are regular meetings, and we strive to build like our functionality always on top of that. Yeah, so it means for you, if you just had access to a demo, it would be Drupal CMS loaded with a bunch of AI features, or maybe some really important AI features that you want to get into, or maybe you want to use in your projects, or you want to pitch or something like that. So that will be built on top of Drupal CMS. Let's take a look at recipes. I assume that many of you here know exactly what that is and know how this works really well, but maybe there are also some that don't know how this works. Recipes is new. It's awesome because it does exactly what we needed to do in order to just provide you with AI functionality. And they're very easy to apply. You see that up here in the example that I brought. And I'm now going to show you 2 recipes that we just created in the last weeks, months, that you could just use today. So they illustrate what I'm saying here quite nicely. So one is for image classification, and the other one is for guardrails. And so if you want to install the image classification recipe, you require it as a regular composer package, and then you apply it. And when you apply it, you get this. And this is actually awesome because you see here in play pure field widget action configuration where you click on, and then an automation function is executed that analyzes the image and gives you back an alt text. Yeah, so this is not the AI alt text module that you might have installed. This is pure configuration from field widget actions. Yeah, that just exposes an AI action in the widget, and you press the button, and it just does that. What this recipe also does, it exposes automators down here, because when you save the image is processed by AI, and a description of this image is being made, and a classification is being applied. Yeah, so when you install this recipe, you get a taxonomy for this classification. Yeah, and it adds fields to the image so that you can do the image description. And that's, of course, a big thing, because if you ever want to discover your images, if you want to, in the media browser, you want to type, show me the images about smiling people, or beach, or palm trees, or green, you have that in here in this description, and you can find your images. That is already part of this recipe. I now only took this screenshot to illustrate the point, that you actually, just by installing this recipe, you actually see like a lot of the under-the-hood functionality that is maybe not obvious to you how to use and how to configure yourself on the first go. And I mean, this is just something you can just use today, and then you learn a lot when you look at it. Another one is guardrails. So guardrails, very fine functionality created by Luca. I don't see him here, but he was here on the conference. What guardrails is, so when your AI does something, you want to have guardrails around it so it doesn't break out into something that you don't want. So what could that be? It could, for example, be that you just send PII data to AI service that's outside of your legislative region. So, for example, if you're under GDPR, yeah, you shouldn't send email addresses or names, birth dates, whatever else to American servers for processing. So you could, for example, say, I want to restrict that information. Or the other one would be that if you have a chatbot on your page and then you ask for the chatbot, you say, oh, my stomach hurts, what should I do? And chatbot says, no worries, it will go away, but you're actually really sick. Yeah, then you just get bad medical advice, and depending on where you live, you could be liable for stuff like that. Yeah, and so this guardrail functionality, what that does, it hooks into AI operations and stops it when it identifies anything that you don't want it to do. Yeah, and here, again, are some examples. So if you install this, you get a bunch of guardrail configurations. Here, exactly from the examples I just gave, like, for example, for liability, it works in the way that you give allowed topics and forbidden topics, and then you can restrict, with AI, like, is the conversation currently only on topics that are allowed or denied? Or it's like here, it's a regex-based guardrail that identifies if you have something illegal there, either that you're sending out or when the AI responds. So when you say, like, what's, I don't know, this person's email address, and it tries to respond, you can intercept it. Yeah. So these examples here in the current recipe, they are quite simple, easy to use. Yeah, they work immediately. The way we work with these recipes, we constantly evolve them. So for example, we have now just added functionality to restrict the token length for AI requests. That's actually a really important guardrail, because if you have something that's public and a person puts like a very large context into there, so it will burn your tokens and it can break things. Yeah, so you could restrict that. So as soon as we just build new functionality, we release this inside of the recipes. So it's super easy for everyone to just you understand how this works and have direct access to that. The whole system is pluggable. Yeah, so for example, if you now think about, I don't know, social security numbers, yeah, and telephone numbers, they can be similar. So you can just also plug in and just like extend this in the way you want. So it's really cool functionality. That's just another example for how recipes work. All right. Now let's take a step back and look at what do we have on the roadmap, what are we building, and how does this all tie together. So this is a visual representation of the Drupal AI roadmap that we published in the beginning of this year. So here on the bottom you find the link, yeah, and it's divided into these 8 areas. They're quite explanatory. I mean, page generation, context management, you know what that is. You know, integrating design systems is important because if you want to generate something, you just need to know what this should look like. Background agents means that you can execute tasks that run for a long time, yeah, and governance side improvements or support for multi-channel things. So I think it's quite explanatory, but that's the roadmap you can read in detail. And now let's look at what are we building at the moment and how does that tie into the roadmap. So currently, meaning right now, what we are working on in the innovation work stream is MCP. Because MCP is like really important, how do you say, baseline functionality that we need for all kinds of AI operations. So that's something that is being developed at the moment. Yeah, so there existed already a very fine MCP module before, and now there's a newer implementation, and this is all coming together. I hear it's coming together really nicely, and thank you for the people working on this. You, Georgie, again? Joking. And of course, Canvas AI is also a big thing. You see that always in the Dries notes. And then the thing is like what I said earlier, you saw that we're migrating to Symfony AI. So now let's put this in relationship with the roadmap that you saw. If you just look at MCP, MCP is just basic functionality that you just need to build if you don't want to have any ways of advanced governance or site improvements. I mean, you have probably your performance functionality elsewhere. So there's some kind of system that just figures out this page is not performing or that page is better performing or like some tests needs to be done. So you need to have like a way that this other system can communicate with the Drupal system to just change things. And that is what MCP does, to allow like other systems, especially if they are agentic as well, to just interact with your Drupal system. Yeah, and also, of course, the other way around. If you think about if you're doing multi-channel campaigns, like there's a lot of work of just like exposing all your data into all these different channels. So in the past, like we needed to send this all ways. If you expose your information, like with MCP, other systems can come and fetch it. If you now take Canvas AI, so Canvas AI also ties into the roadmap heavily, but in different points of the roadmap. So of course, I mean, you all know Canvas AI, I assume, and you've seen it, so I'm not going to explain it. But page generation, of course, it needs to use context management because you can't generate anything meaningful if you don't have the context. Design systems, because that's what you essentially display, and and also content creation and discovery. If you now go to the right side, to the work stream for the product work stream, the one thing that we are just focusing on at the moment is AI content reviews. So if you remember, like if you were here when Dries and Dominic had the session about you know, what's important with AI and where this is going, then, and there was one question asked that I thought was really good. Somebody said, like, Dries, what's the most important thing that we should build right now? And he said, well, we need 2 content reviews. And you hear this everywhere, so pretty much all organizations I talk to, they say what they really, really want first is that, you know, AI governs all their content, checks, is it on brand? Is it factually correct? Is it maybe outdated? Or is there duplicate? Or should internal linking be better? Should it be better optimized for SEO? Should it be optimized for generation engines? Yeah, so that is probably the #1 thing that everybody wants right now. So that's what we're building. So I hope that in the next weeks we're going to have an MVP version out with a recipe that you can actually install this and see where we stand. What we're thinking about building next is AI search. This is not yet decided because we just need to talk with our partners in the initiative if that is really the next feature we should focus on, but I just put that here because at the moment, from what I'm hearing, that's what we want the most. And I put here on the bottom also AI observability because we have that really, but we don't have it released yet as proper recipes, so you can already log all your AI operations to an OpenTelemetry backend to visualize because you need that, otherwise you can't operate AI. So yeah, again, if you look here, content reviews ties into context management, very importantly to background agents, because if you run a content review, you're not clicking and waiting for the result. It just can run overnight. Yeah, but for this, we need to actually create functionality that can run overnight. So we don't have that yet. So that ties into these areas. And of course, like here on the right side for governance and improvements. And search touches here on smart search and content discovery, obviously, but also for intelligent site improvements. If you can suddenly, on a very large web estate, surface the information in one place with a good semantic search or chat interface or something like this, that's of course very, very, very important. Let's go back here to this one. So you also see there's stuff that we need to build which is under the hood. So here there was observability. And you also saw, like, on the innovation workstream, the move to Symphony AI. So that does not tie into the roadmap per se. That's underlying functionality that we have to build. And that's not the only one, because there's also general functionality that we are working on. So one that's really important, and where we actually need help, we just at the moment setting this up. So we want to build ready-to-use demos, because you can take these recipes today, install them on your local system, but we don't have a place where you can press a button and it just spins up and it works. In theory, yes, we can do it. I mean, probably all of you are thinking right now, we could do it like on Drupal Forge, or we could do it, you know what I mean? But we just don't have it ready, yeah, and so that's what we're working on to provide that, so it comes out, so that every time when we release new functionality with a new recipe, it can go out to a demo. Another thing that I get asked a lot is about training webinars, yeah, so probably many of you want to get trained on this stuff because you don't know how half of this is working. Yeah, and we're also looking to make this in a scalable, repeatable way, so an accessible way to all, because otherwise you will have a hard time of just getting into using and building with Drupal AI. And last but not least, this is very recent. Jamie mentioned this in his talk earlier this week about AI coding best practices. Of course, we can now generate code. We can produce code at much higher quality and much higher speed if we know what we're doing. And this, if you know what we're doing, means, and for code generation, it means that you have proper skills and rules in place, that when you build something, that actually comes out in the way that we want it to come out. So that's also something that we're working on. Let me go here so I can see the time. Oh shit, I didn't press start. Are we good in time? Okay, good. Now, I just want to tell you how you can get in, how you can join, how you can help. And yeah, I mentioned this a couple of times earlier, so we work with regular sprint iterations, yeah, planning, sprinting, dailies, reviews, yeah, and you can participate. It's open to anyone. If your organization is a sponsor of the Drupal AI initiative, like you have resources that you just have to bring, yeah, and it's really nice. We align beforehand, we see who's available, yeah, and for example, if you just now knew, like in the next 2 weeks you had some capacity, you could maybe have like 3, 4, 5 days where you could do something, then you can come and you can talk to the, you can join the Slack channel, the AI Slack channel, and you can talk to Arian or Raki, who are organizing these sprints. You can say, I'm here, I want to help, and they will just let you, and they'll be really happy about it, and then you can participate. And it's in 2 areas. You can really choose if you just want to work on innovative things, or you want to contribute something there, or it's more that you just want to help of bring things out. Yeah, so, and it's really nice. I put here the feature development lifecycle just for reference, because to tie all the things together that I just saw, like we really take suggestions from anyone, yeah, and anyone can say we should build this is important, focus on this. Since we are using the resources from our AI partners, it's the partners that in the end prioritize what goes in, but it's usually like very consensual, and yeah, that leads to prioritized backlog, and then it gets organized, UX is being done properly, and QA is being done properly, and then it gets rolled out. So everything is public, what we do, and you can just join. And what's going to be really exciting, I don't know if all the projects were already moved to GitLab. So we are now, right now, in the middle of getting rid of Drupal AI issue queues into GitLab issue queues. And that will, of course, be really awesome, because then you can just have like one list of issues with proper filters, proper assignees, proper notifications, proper everything. And that will be used in communication. So therefore, I don't have any deep links now to where you can look. But that will just be coming in the next days. And there you can see exactly what's going on. And if you're just thinking about participating, you can look there, and it should be really easy and really awesome. And this was it. Thank you for attention. So I made this a little bit shorter because I actually mean that down here. So what functionality do you need in your projects, and what should we build first? I would love you to ask me just general questions, of course, if you want to, or have any. And but if you can just like say what you think we should be doing, that'd be really nice to hear. All right. Anyone? Okay, now I think I have to call out Georgie because I said his name already 2 times, so. No, I'm just joking. What do you think we should do first in the AI development?
You mean in general, or?
Yes.
Okay, maybe I'll focus on the MCP thing because I'm also already working with my team there. I think first we have to, when it comes to MCP, make it stable, what we have. And then what I think it's important is to maybe release a proper recipe that configures some useful plugins along with the MCP server, and then makes it work for CMS, something like that.
So, I mean, I know that you built a lot with MCP already because you are actually the creator of the previous module, the current module, yeah? So, like, what would you say if you created a recipe for MCP? Like, what kind of functionality could it have so that it's generally applicable? Like, what would be a good example?
You know, I think we have to start with something to just expose the content as a resource, as an MCP resource, so that when you install the fresh Drupal CMS, and if you enable MCP there, you just have to expose all your content or configure the content you want to be exposed to an MCP server. And then maybe we start to think from the other part of this to make your Drupal to manipulate it from other systems. So, but first I would focus on the exposing content properly so that you connect with some external systems, some other workflows and so on.
So the example could be I install like Drupal CMS and there's an MCP
install
recipe.
Drupal CMS, then there's an MCP recipe.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you enable it, then you can just connect your Drupal with its URL, just URL, to some other MCP clients or Cloud Code or NA10 or whatever.
So for example, I could then say in Cloud Code, hey, so I want to write a new blog post, check the blog post that I have, I want to do a similar style, and it should be about this and that topic, and then I could work, and he would read all that, and when I'm then actually done, I can say, now please create that content for me.
Exactly, yeah.
That would be super cool. Mm-hmm. All right, nice, thank you.
Thank you.
Frederick. Hey, Christoph, very nice presentation. Thank you for that. I want to say 2 things. The first thing is I really love that there is some clear direction. It really seems that you know where you're going with things, and I totally align with the AI reviews thing that you've prioritized. I love it, by the way. I just wanted to say that. One thing, I don't know if you've seen my Drupal flywheel of success.
Yes.
This is for me is perfect on keeping them in, giving them some good things, easy things to work with. What about getting the content in easily? Is there something about migrations? I didn't see anything about migrating external content into it. Is there anything on the roadmap somewhere about that? Just a question.
I mean, MCP does that a little bit, or provides at least, you know, a surface for doing stuff like this, but not yet. But I think, I mean, like, stuff is evolving, so I think also if you look at the roadmap, it's just very, very general. Yeah, it's just really capabilities that we want to have. It's not concrete features. What we're doing now are the concrete features, so I think that could actually be a very nice one.
Yeah, what I love about what you're doing now is because it's very tangible, it's very specific. This is something people will actually love. Like, that's a feature that I want.
Yes.
So I maybe a suggestion would then be for the next features to really go with them till the end, till they're really like things that people want.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, but it's good comment. Thank you for the question. That's also exactly how we're building this up. Because so we have a roadmap, we have capabilities, what we want to be able to do, and now we have to make that. And the use cases that we solve, they have to be concrete. And the more buy-in we have, or the more we have reviewed, the better the use cases are that we actually built, and the more valuable they become. So, and that could be totally one. So, I think you should just work that out. I can work with you, and then let's put this on the roadmap and see if we can prioritize this. I think it's great. Yep.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it would be nice to have like a Drupal personal digital assistant or an institutional digital assistant, like for companies. Yeah, stuff like that.
What would the assistant do?
Have all the context, pull sources from everywhere, where your data lives, and then can act upon them like OpenClaw.
But are you talking from the perspective of a content editor or from a site builder? Like which one are you right now?
Just from the user.
So the editor, like the person, instead of logging in, that you actually have tools that just do that for you, right? Yeah, super useful. I think so too. So also for information, there's a lot of, this is what we mean when we say outside in AI. Yeah, so like inside out means we do stuff in Drupal and there's something AI happening there and then maybe it goes somewhere. Outside in means you do AI elsewhere and it just does that in Drupal. And now, if you think about it, I mean, it's not always pleasant to log into a Drupal instance and modify the content. If the developer didn't pay good attention of just making a really beautiful UI, you might end up seeing something that's very clunky, very hard to use, takes forever to load, and in reality, what you much more want is like what you showed, Frederick, that you just, talk to WhatsApp or Telegram, I think it was, and you say like, log into the page, fix this, add an image, or maybe you just do this in your Cloud Code. And this is outside in AI, that your personal assistant, wherever that lives, talks to your website and does things there for you. And you don't have to go through single sign-on and then click and then content overview page and then search and then find it and then edit and then I don't know. Yeah, so all that stuff is probably becoming less important. More questions?
I guess it's a suggestion, not a question.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the way that LLMs work, there's more and more understanding in the culture that generating your own software is great. So I'm seeing a trend where people generate their own browser extensions because they don't trust the browser extensions. They steal your data. So they make up their mind about what features they need in their browser. They give it to the LLM, generate me a browser extension with these features, and then I have my own thing. I can look at the source, and it's not going to steal my data. And I think there's a task that we have to protect the open source values and explain why open source still makes sense in this context when you can generate your own software for whatever you need. And I think open source and the modules that we have and the components act as like a human in the loop in quality assurance and performance and security and scalability and all of that stuff. And I think we need to give these tools to people that build sites, that they start with Drupal, but then they shouldn't just generate the module code that they want on top of it, but instead have these best practices to use country modules, have these best practices to rely on, to test MRs instead of generating your own patch fixes locally, and to guide the contribution workflow and the best practices of open source citizenship through AI instead of letting the people be comfortable with the AI generates my code and it's fine type of mentality.
Yeah, I think this makes a lot of sense. I mean, there's two conflicting things. So, of course, if a lot of stuff gets generated, the quality is not always good. So not everything that's good can go in. And on the one side, at the moment in Drupal, there's a debate going on, or not a debate. Yeah, well, also a debate, but it's more like a organizational issue. How do we just facilitate good generated code to help us move faster? And that also, of course, like keeps people off, because if you don't feel really comfortable and you don't understand every single line of code that was being generated, maybe you're hesitant of contributing. Yeah, so that could also like scare people off. So I think it's difficult to balance. But I like this point because I've never thought about it. Of course, it's true, you can just generate everything in minutes and maybe don't contribute anymore because it's kind of perishable code that I just have for a while and then away with it, you know, so that's something that probably has to be addressed, you're right.
Yeah, that's why what functionality do we need? I think me as an open source evangelist, the functionality that I need is for the open source values to be encoded into how the LLMs help you build a site. And all those values should be there of like, let's try out if there's a module for this problem, or find the module instead of generating the code. The module is there, but now it has this bug. Let's see if there's an issue for this bug. So like, we need to encode these open source values in how the LLMs build with Drupal, I think, and that's, I hope that it's somewhere on the AI team's
so probably
agenda.
what the way forward is, I would say, I mean, in the end, we talk about skills. Yeah, so if we have skills that are better for generating than doing it without, people will use it. And if you have these skills, then we can incorporate into the skills that they should also take a look at the issue queue for fixing a bug if they can, or maybe just first looking for some functionality or best practice that exists before inventing their own. It's a good one. More ideas, comments, questions? Then I think we conclude. Thank you for participating. Thank you for listening. And yeah, see you later.